Obviously a big night for Donald Trump, not unexpected. You're looking at all the polls ahead of Tuesday night. Donald Trump was going to romp throughout those 5 states. I think the margin of victory and the breadth of his victory may be a little bit eyebrow-raising, but in terms of the delegate math, a lot of those victories are sort of baked into the cake. The big question, and we just heard this from Peter Barnes, the big question is 1 week from yesterday, next Tuesday in Indiana, can Ted Cruz mount a comeback and win there? If not, I think that is psychologically and mathematically a devastating development. So Indiana, circle out on your calendar, May the 3rd. That could be the date where Donald Trump, not officially, but for all intents and purposes, puts it away.
Tom Baer, what do you think about that? Obviously, Indiana important from both sides of the race.
Yeah, I think it is important, but I think the issues that Hillary faces are a little bigger than Indiana because I think she is the presumptive nominee. And I think what she faces is, first of all, developing a general election strategy against Mr. Trump, which defines him without deprecating his supporters, perhaps, you know, that they've been sold a bill of goods. Secondly, to deal with Mr. Sanders and to come up with some kind of an arrangement which satisfies him that is okay for her without giving away the store. Third is having a riveting convention. If we keep this up, this convention is going to be a snooze, and that's impossible. And then finally is continuing to win the remaining primaries.
Yeah, Robert Wolf, you agree with all that?
I agree with some points. I mean, first, let me start. I know that everyone thinks for the Republican Party that Indiana is a stronghold. I don't agree. I think it's Trump is going to be the nominee. I think he has shown that from a popular vote perspective and the delegate vote perspective that even if he's within 100, I don't know how you give it to him. I think with Secretary Clinton, when you win the key swing states in the country of Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, Virginia, it's over. And so I think at the end of the day that it's Trump versus Clinton. I think they showed last night that they absolutely are going to be the general candidates. And I think with respect to getting out the vote and excitement, the Republican Party will be excited to beat Clinton. The Democratic Party will be excited to beat Trump. You'll have President Obama coming out. I'm not concerned about a great convention for the Democratic side. And I'm certainly not concerned with a great convention on the Republican side. Who knows what that will be.
That's a good point about President Obama. I mean, he is a prolific fundraiser, and it's going to be able to help her immensely, assuming that she's the nominee.
Yes.
And Donald Trump is going to have to stand up. In fundraising, absolutely in fundraising. He's a juggernaut in fundraising. Donald Trump's going to have to find the equivalent on the Republican side to help him raise that amount of money.
Absolutely. I would just add to that that I don't understand how he's going to raise the money. He has...
Talking about Trump?
Yes. He says he's not going to have PACs. He hasn't been raising any money. I think his
I can do the math for you on that.
Well, good.
They only need 15,000 individuals to give the Republican Party $33,400 apiece, and I think that that's doable with if people really start hitting the phones and shaking some hands. It's doable because there's such a passion to defeat Hillary Clinton.
There's no
November.
question the far left and far right are going to get activated. I know we think that the populist rhetoric of Bernie, oh my God, Hillary has to get him on board. Bernie will come on board, and oh my God, the far right, you know, don't support Trump. They will support Trump. This is going to be a normal election.
But look at this data numbers. I mean, the turnout has collapsed, particularly on the Democratic side, right? I mean, there's a report out this morning that turnout was down 4.5 million. That's nearly 20% from where we were when Barack Obama was exciting everything.
Listen, that is obviously, get out the vote is a big concern. But I also would say that the Republican primary has been more exciting. You had 17 candidates. It was like watching WWE on a weekly basis. It was exciting. I mean, and it was a very different, very different primary system.
I agree with Bob on that, and I think I would also add that the numbers really don't tell a great deal at this point. 121 million Americans voted in the election in 2012. And to get from these numbers, which seem big in the small arena that we're operating, to get these numbers up to where you can win a national election is a massive venture. And I also agree with Bob that there was going to be enormous enthusiasm on the Democratic side because the allegations are, well, you know, people are not enthusiastic. Once Democrats and Americans and independents and a lot of Republicans are aware of what's at stake in running against Donald Trump, the enthusiasm for Secretary Clinton is going to be enormous.
Yeah, that's what Debbie Wasserman Schultz told us earlier. She was on the show, at the top of the show. Guy Benson, do you agree with that in terms of voter count and output, both on the Democratic and the Republican side?
Yeah, I do. Well, 2 points. First, when you look at primary excitement and turnout, those are interesting metrics, and it gets people like us talking. But historically, primary turnout is not predictive of general election outcomes. So it's important to keep that in mind. I don't agree that there will be excitement around Hillary Clinton. She is unexciting. She is disliked. She is mistrusted. But I do agree that there will be a massive mobilization against Trump, not just on the Democratic side, but with independents and a certain chunk of right-leaning voters as well. So I don't believe that it'll be a low turnout election, because you'll have this larger-than-life. If it's Trump, he's larger than life. He inspires lots of feelings, one way or the other, in a lot of people. Mrs. Clinton just sort of has to be sort of the steady alternative. As unpopular as she is, he will be at the center of the election for good or for ill for his campaign.
Guy, then you must also say that Trump must be unliked, because his favorability is light years.
Oh, much worse.
Okay, worse. So we should just make that sure that everyone on Fox
Oh, yeah. No,
well.
I'm not a Trump apologist.
No, I know, but it's just interesting that you took that one side. I mean, listen, I think these favorability polls...
Well, hang on, but that's because you guys were talking about excitement around Hillary Clinton. Who's excited by her? Almost no one.
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, Rob. I think when there's a lot at stake here, in terms of who's going to be in the Oval Office, you will see a transformation in that enthusiasm. I mean, if this is a job interview with the American people, I think it's going to become clear that you're not safe with Donald Trump, and that's going to create enthusiasm.